Hello guys. Welcome back to Javascript Even Grammar, right? So we are a group that we want to teach you JavaScript in a way that your grandmother would even understand. So we bring with you a new tutorial this week, and what we are trying to do what you're trying to do in this section is basically to so we're trying to create a sum finder. So this is our question today. So from an unsorted array, right, check whether there are any two numbers that will sum up to a given number. So all that they are trying to tell us is that, so this is a basic data structures with JavaScript question. So what they are trying to say is that, so assuming given a function, right, that takes an array, and so that takes an array and a sum, right, and a sum. We want to, let's say, return, so assuming this is the function, right, this is the function, and so we want to just, so if we give this array, let's say 1, 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9, let's say 12, right? And we provide it with, let's say, 10, right? So this is the array and this is the sum. So we want, from the unsorted array, we want to check in the array that which two numbers will sum up to 10. So in this case, let's say our output, right? Our output should yield 6 plus 4. That will give us the 10. So what I am trying to do is that, so from an unsorted array, which is this, and we give it a sum, right? We want to check whether the two numbers will give us a sum that we provided in the number. So we are going to, so I'll just leave this one commented as well as this. Then what we'll do is that we'll create a new function, right? So we already know how to create functions, right? So we already know how to create functions. We said we write a function keyword and we provide it with a function name. So we're going to write sum finder, right? They're going to give it an array and provide it with a sum, right? Then we bring our curly braces. Okay, so now how do we tackle this problem, right? So our first approach, right, is to keep track of the length of the array that will be provided. So what you're going to do is that we'll keep track of the length, right? The length of the unsorted array, right? And how we can do that is that we can declare a variable, right? When we declare a variable, we'll just call the array dot length, right, on the array, so that we know the length of the array. Now, when we know the length of the array, now if we want to keep track of every two numbers in the array, what we have to do basically is that we have to write nested for loops, right? So we will write the first for loop that will keep track of the first index, and write another for loop that will keep track of the second index. So what we'll do is that I'll comment this. So we will to keep track of the first, so let's say the array, right? The array, the first index, and our second for loop would write the array of the second index. So this is what we basically want to do. So what I'll do is that I'll write for, right? And I'll declare a variable. We already know how to write for loop. So the first one will just be 0. Then we write the I. So less than the length. So I'll just do less than the length that. Okay, so what I'll do is that, so I want to declare what we call length here. So since we don't want to get to the last index, right? We want to subtract 1 from the array so that we get the exact length of the array. Now what we do again is that now we have to write the nested for loop, right? So nested for loop. So that is the array of the J1, right? So what we do is I write another for loop that will take this J, right? So now the J will have to be the I, right? The J will be equal to the I plus 1. So the reason why I'm using the I plus 1 is that I want the J to start from the second index. So if this is the first index, so let's try to analyze this. So if this is the array, right? If this is the array, what's basically what I basically want to do is that if I is the 1, right? Now the J should be I plus 1, that is the 2, so that we can compare whether these two numbers will be the sum that we have provided inside our function. So basically that's what I want to do. So we close it, then we still call the J, right? The J less than this length, and so I forgot to update it here. So we have to write the I plus plus and as well as the J plus plus. In that way, we can update it. So now what I basically want to do is that I want to write a condition, right? I want to write a condition. So I want to write a condition that will check if the two arrays, right? The first index and the second index, that is the I and the J, is their sum equal to the specified sum that we pass inside the function. If that is the case, then we want to add the two of them and return the sum, right? So what we basically want to do is that we want to write a condition, right? To check for the logic, right? So what we want to do is that we want to write if, right? If the array, right, of this index, of the ith index, plus the array of, right, of the J, is it equal, so the comparison operator, we are using this comparison operator. Now, is it equal to the sum? Yes. If it is, then we are grabbing, so what's if indeed the two indexes, right, is equal to the specified sum that we want to return. We learned about the return statement in the previous lesson that we did, right? William clearly explained the return in the, so now we have been seeing double quotes and single quotes, but this is one thing I want to, now this backtext, right, can be located right before the 1 on the keyboard. So what I want to write is that I want to write a formatted string, right? So if indeed these two indexes, right, when you sum them, if it is equal to the sum, then truly we want to return, right? What do you want to return? We want to return the array, that was plus, so plus, we write the same thing and declare this, so the array of that index, right, is equal to the sum, right? So we'll see the two numbers, right? So I will say that, let's say, no, so okay, let me format it well. So okay, so first of all, let's do it like this so that we'll see what will be the outcome. But right now, what we are trying to do is that if if there are no numbers, right? If there are no numbers that can sum up to this sum that will pass inside the function, right? We want to return, let's say, something like, so return a string, right? That will say there are no, let's say, such, right? No, I can't spell numbers in this array, right? So that is what we want to do. So now let's test our code and see what we'll get. So let's try and console.log. So let's console.log sum finder, and let's pass in an array, right? So let's pass in an array of, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 4, right? And let's pass in, let's say, 10, let's pass in 20, let's pass in, so let's make it unsorted. So let's pass in 22, let's pass in 45, and let's pass in, let's say, 56. So with this unsorted array, right? And we want to specify, let's say, 9, right? When we specify 9, it is saying that we have unexpected, so something is wrong here.
Yeah.
Did I leave anything?
And check where the 9 is. I think 9 is supposed to be at the back of the array.
At the back of the array.
Yeah. So the 9 is supposed to be inside, not outside. Yes.
Okay, so this is where the this. Okay. Yeah, the 9 is supposed to
That's
be
right.
inside.
Right, yeah.
So
Okay.
the
So
9 is supposed to be
comma
inside,
9,
like
yeah.
this. Yeah, I think
And the next arrow,
something like
the return keyword, I think
that.
return keyword.
The return keyword.
Yeah, the
Okay,
last one. The
so
last one. Return.
okay, this one.
I think
Is it this one?
yes. Where it's supposed to be highlighted.
Okay. So I think
I think
it
it's supposed
should rather be here.
to be down there or somewhere.
It should be here rather. Guys, you see,
Yeah.
you have to be extra careful.
Uh,
So I think it's supposed to be here rather, right? So yes, exactly. I don't know why it is giving me this, but
okay. So
so
I
yes, okay. So I think I see the problem.
uh,
There shouldn't be anything here. And so, okay, I see the problem. I think,
yes, exactly.
yes,
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, I think I see the problem. So now we specified that we have passed this array and we want the two numbers that will give us 9. And when we run the code, we have 7 and right. So I have to even format this so that we'll see the outcome as well. This, yeah. So clearly we see that when we loop through this array. So basically what we are trying to do is that when the first array loops, right, it will just grab this one, that is the first one. And the second array will also loop and grab this one. And it will check if the two sum, is it equal to 9? No. If it is not, the second array, right, the first loop will come to the 45, and the I will be 45, and the second and the j will be 56. Then to compare, if the 2 will give us 9. If it is not, then the third one, it will be, the I will be 56 and the j will be I plus 1, that is 1. Then it will compare, is it equal to 9? If it is not 9, then it will keep on looping, it will keep on looping through the array till it finds 2 numbers. So assuming that we had 1 here, right? So we'll see that it will still grab 2 numbers, that will still yield 9. So assuming we had 2, it will still grab. So assuming we didn't have 7, we had, let's say, 11. It still has what? 5 and 4.
Yeah.
So let's change maybe 4 to 5. And it will tell us that there are no 2 numbers in this array. So there are no such numbers in this array. So there are not 2 numbers in this array that could yield this 9. So that is what we are basically trying to understand, right? So what we did first of all was to declare our function. And our function takes in 2 parameters, that is the array and the sum. And here we wrote a code here, and we are basically trying to keep track of the length of the unsorted array. So this array.length will give us a value. Now we are storing this value inside this len variable. And now we are writing our first for loop, right? Our nested for loop to track the array of the I and the array of the j. Now we write the for loop for the first I variable that will take the first index of the array of the unsorted array, right? So our I is equal to 0. Then our I is less than this length, right? So we don't want to get to the end of the array. So we have to subtract 1 from it so that it will just end at the last index of the array. We don't want to go beyond that, right? So you have to subtract 1 from it so that it will just be the exact. So, and we are trying to increment it. So we know that this is the condition, this is the update, right? And this is the, I think, this is the variable, right? Or William?
Yeah, that's the variable. The
This
first
is the
one,
variable.
just initial,
So this is the initial, and
initial
this is the condition,
condition.
right? This is the condition, and this is the updates,
Exactly.
right? Yes. So we give it an initial value, then we write the logic for it, then we try to increase it. So we are trying to say that inside this first for loop, we are writing a nested for loop that will keep track of the array of the second index, right? So we write an initial condition, but here we don't have a way to grab this second index rather than to increase the first initial condition, that is the I plus 1. So if I is the 22, the I plus 1 will be this. So we are assigning this I plus 1 to the j so that the I will be 22. For the first loop, the I will be 22 and the j will be 45, right? In the second loop, the I will be the 45, and the j will be 58. The third loop, the I will be 56, and the j will be 1. The second loop, the I will be 1, and the second loop, the j will be 1. So that is how we have to keep track of the second one. So we just do I plus 1. So we assign the second index in the unsorted array to the j. Then we are trying to loop through the same length, right? The same length, and we are incrementing it, we are updating it. And what we are trying to do inside this loop is that we are trying to check if the array of the first index and the array of the second index, right? So array of I and array of I plus 1. Now, when we sum these 2 arrays together, right? These 2 numbers together, are we going to get this specified value that we placed inside this arguments that we give to the function at the time of the function call? Are you going to get this same number? If yes, then our condition will end here and just print. So assuming I do let's say 6, and I do 3. Yes. Now it will check if we have two numbers in the array, unsorted array, that will yield this argument. Now it will just skip the rest of the loop and just return the the sum of them in a nice formatted way. So you see 3 plus 6 is equal to 9, right? Otherwise, we are just saying that there are no such numbers in the array. So we don't have any two numbers in the array that will yield 9. So I think this is a simple JavaScript um, data structure tutorial that we bring to you today. So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and stay tuned for the rest of our JavaScript tutorials that will be coming soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. I think you have to go through the course and just practice yourself, and I
Yeah.
think come out with, yeah, you'll get a better understanding.